Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. This is Weaver and I'm glad that you could join me today. So, given that you clicked on this video, I think it's safe to assume that you're familiar with the concept of a web novel. For those who aren't, think of web novels as novels that are written and consumed concurrently and released at highly regular intervals. For example, every day, week, and so on. This kind of format enables a much more intimate author-reader relationship, as writers can see what the readers think about their work in a highly gradual and progressive manner. Though it's up for dispute whether this format is superior to conventional novel paradigms, one thing is for sure. There's no shortage of totally wonderful web novels that, in my opinion, are incredibly unique and worth reading. Now, given the preponderance of these novels, a challenge that even the most dedicated reader faces is this: what exactly should I read? Well, if you felt this way in the past, you can rejoice now, because in this video, that is exactly what I plan to answer. More specifically, I want to walk you through my top 5 novels of all time, as well as include some honorary novels that have, for one reason or another, drastically affected my experience reading web novels. For those who are strapped for time, feel free to skip to the end of this video for a more condensed version of my thoughts. Now, before jumping into the meat of this video, I want to take this opportunity to ask that you like, subscribe, and comment, and hit that notification bell on this video if you enjoy content like this and want to see more. You see, any and all encouragement is incredibly welcome, and it helps push me to make better, higher quality content. But that's enough for the intro, let's get straight into it. First, let's begin by discussing some novels that haven't quite made my top 5 list, but have had a tremendous impact on me as a web novel reader for one reason or another. Let's begin discussing the novel Battle Through the Heavens and related novels set in the same universe like Wudang Qiangkun and Great Ruler. Apologies, I think I butchered the Chinese pronunciation of that book, but I hope you'll forgive me. The author of these masterpieces was the writer that first captivated my attention and drew me to the web novel format way back in 2016 when I was just a young boy. Back in these days, I vividly recall seeking relief from the daily monotony in chapters of Battle Through the Heavens and The Great Ruler. You see, back in those days, wuxia and web novels more generally were basically only being written in China and other parts of Asia. But something about the fights, the mixture of Eastern mythology, with power systems that were easy to understand, and the fast pacing just commanded my attention. To give you a brief overview, Battle Through the Heavens follows a young man named Xiao Yan, who was born to a wealthy but small local family in the Doqi world or universe. The story falls into the rags to riches or power fantasy genre and traces our protagonist's transformative journey from mere cannon fodder to the strongest person in the world, also known as a dough god. As this was the first web novel and wuxia story that I'd ever read, this general archetype of story has a very fond place in my heart. And for those looking for a story with incredibly cool world building, a nice power system, and an easy introduction into wuxia and web novels more generally, I cannot recommend this story and the others in this universe enough. If I had to give one criticism of the novel, I would say that the erudite reader might find its plot fairly cliched, though this is of course a function of your exposure. Okay, so moving on to number 5. At the 5th spot, I have to include The Throne of Magical Arcana by the author Cuttlefish That Loves Diving. As you will soon see, this author is perhaps the best web novel author I have ever had the pleasure of reading, and he consistently builds worlds that are simply magical. Beyond the innovative world building, clever mixture of science and magic, an inspiring plot that follows a young man who has transmigrated into a new world and basically rediscovers scientific truths in this world, I recommend reading this novel thoroughly only on the grounds of the writing, which I thought was excellent. If you like science and magic, then you will certainly enjoy this novel, which skillfully explores a world that exists at the intersection of both. And don't worry, our main character becomes ridiculously powerful through the story, so you will get your fix of power maxing. At number 4, I have to include The Beginning After the End by Turtle Me. This is one of those novels that I first picked up around 4 years ago, and have been periodically reading since. For whatever reason, I tend to instinctively compare this novel with Mushoku Tensei. This perhaps because I read both around the same time, or perhaps because the magic and leveling systems are somewhat similar, or maybe because they both explore the isekai trope in unconventional ways. Anyways, this novel follows King Arthur, one of the most prodigious fighters in an unknown world, who is killed and transported into a new one, as he makes a name for himself in this world and ascends to the pinnacle of power. We also see him forge new friendships and grapple with trauma from a previous life, and grow tremendously as a person in the process. Though this novel does navigate some of the tropes that conventional isekai plots explore, it does so in a way that is simply fresh and addicting. More importantly, the world building, story, and character development is top tier. Though Arthur is incredibly strong, you'll find that Turtleme writes the story such that you are always kept on edge as Arthur squares off against enemies that are leagues beyond him in either power, skill, or foresight. Also, I noticed that Turtleme does a great job exploring the character's inner thoughts, motivations, and aims. I feel as though it is likely to be more familiar to the average Western reader than other stories that I've highlighted here as well. So there's that. The story is still being written, so if you want the experience of reading with a large community of peers, I suggest you check this novel out. I'm sure you won't regret it. At number 3, we have a novel that occupies a very special place in my heart, 40 Millenniums of Cultivation. This is a novel that, in my understanding, draws much inspiration from the Warhammer 40k world, though I don't know much about this world. What I can speak to, though, is the world that the author, the enlightened Master Crouching Crow, crazy name, built. This story follows our protagonist, Li Yao, a cunning, talented, and super pragmatic main character who begins his life in the slums and ends this novel after having built out an empire that spans several galaxies. What I really appreciated about this novel is its philosophical exploration of several fundamental worldly dichotomies in a gripping manner. We grapple with issues of order versus freedom and explore topics like the Dark Forest theory through the epic journey Li Yao embarks upon. The romance in this novel is also done in a tasteful way, in my opinion, which is quite uncommon for a web novel. If you like science fiction, mechatronics, and advanced technology, I think this novel will come to occupy a special place in your heart, just as it has in mine. Now, this next spot wasn't easy to determine. The next 2 novels that I'll discuss have been, bar none, some of the best novels I have ever read. They each explore incredible worlds filled with numerous mysteries that never fail to enthrall the reader. Truthfully, they probably both occupy the number 1 spot. But because I promised to give you a top 5 list, that is exactly what I shall do. At number 2, we have Shadow Slave. I know that most of my audience has joined me because of my Shadow Slave content, so you all likely know just how much I like this novel. Its world building is arguably in a league of its own, and the storytelling and pacing are just incredible. The story follows our slightly unorthodox protagonist, Sunny. Perhaps it's more fitting to describe him as an anti-hero. Born amidst the outskirts of a dystopian world, we follow Sunny's journey to break the chains that have shackled him, and, unbeknownst to him, the chains that shackle humanity. Though some are quick to criticize this story for being a bit juvenile and lacking the appropriate development of side characters and so on, I'm not sure I buy most of that criticism. I think the author, Guilty 3, likes to leave a lot open to interpretation, and I find that to be a strength rather than a weakness of this novel. Sunny is one of those protagonists that I really enjoy reading because of how much I can relate to him. If only I could be as powerful as him as well. So, for all of you looking to read a new web novel, please check out Shadow Slave. This is an incredible story that is ongoing, and you really shouldn't miss it. Also, check out the Shadow Slave Reddit and Discord if you're interested. There's so much amazing discussion ongoing. Okay, last but not least, at the number 1 spot, we have The Lord of the Mysteries. I feel as though this novel hardly needs an introduction. In my many years of reading web novels, I can state with zero hesitation that this has been the most unique story I have ever read. As with Shadow Slave, the world building and world history are simply unrivaled. Set in a world that blends steampunk, mystery, and Victorian-era conventions, Lord of the Mysteries follows our protagonist Klein Moretti, who transmigrates from Earth into the body of a resident of this new world. After an unexpected turn of events, Klein delves into the secrets of the mysterious and enigmatic Beyonder world. For those who aren't familiar, Beyonders have supernatural powers that allow them to do things that normal humans cannot. Unlike traditional web novels, these powers are incredibly diverse and also quite creative. Also, unlike conventional power systems, getting stronger in this world truly does come at a cost. I won't spoil too much, but this story follows Klein as he uncovers hidden truths about the world and himself in the process. The story is dark and atmospheric, and it fills you simultaneously with a sense of wonder and dread, perfectly complementing the intricate plot and complex characters. If you have some time, I highly recommend that you read this novel. Also, stay tuned because I plan to make more videos about Lord of the Mysteries soon. In the meantime, though, check out videos from my friend Penguin. I hope I'm saying that right. He's made some nice Lord of the Mystery content that's definitely worth checking out. Also, if you haven't already, check out the new Lord of the Mysteries trailer for the animated series that's coming soon. It's amazing. I'll include some of my favorite Lord of the Mysteries edits below as well. So, to reiterate my ranking, I think that my top 5 consist of Lord of the Mysteries, Shadow Slave, 40 Millenniums of Cultivation, The Beginning After the End, and The Throne of Magical Arcana, in that order more or less. I truly recommend that you read each of these when you get the chance, and I promise that you won't be disappointed. So that's all I have for this video, folks. If you'd enjoyed this content, please subscribe, leave a comment down below, and hit that notification bell. If you have thoughts or suggestions about this ranking, feel free to leave them down below. I try to respond to most comments. Until next time, though, Weaver out.